Hi and hello everyone. I hope you're all doing well. We're going to be doing an album review of The Weeknd's fifth full-length LP at the time, Dawn FM, back in 2022. So this was an album I didn't listen to at the time, but have grown to listen to it as I've gotten into Weeknd's music over the past couple months. So this was the follow-up to his breakthrough record back in 2020, After Hours, which a record I thought pushed him further into as being seen as a generational artist. Given the fact that on that record he was dabbling into the production quite a bit too, and the sound of the 80s nostalgic vibe that would also come on this record on FM. Now, of course, there were like a lead single, Take My Breath. Now, when it comes to this record, at least the concept of this record, it's more centered around the idea of being like a radio station, if you will, as we're also being guided through this world of Dawn FM through Jim Carrey. Now, the opener of Dawn FM gives us the impression, of course, that this will be a bit more of like a radio station, especially by the end of it, as Jim Carrey gives us some lines about how he's being reassuring about us walking into the light, the break of dawn, as it transitions over to Gasoline, which I personally enjoy. I understand a lot of his fans or his diehard fans aren't going to be as much of a fan as this song over here, but I think it's a nice risk change of pace, as Abel's vocals are a lot more guttural, a lot more tone and bass, and the background vocals give off like that very zany and synth-like production. And it's really only on the chorus he really gives us that his usual range melodic vocals. And of course, the last leg of this track gives like a bit of like an instrumental breakdown with some catchy synths that sound like they're kind of like underwater. Of course, it also Abel doing some ad-libs. Next track, How Do I Make You Love Me, is one of the biggest standouts on the album in my opinion. Production sounds very peppy and a little chill at first until it builds to these synths that immediately grab my attention into the chorus. And it keeps you focused on the pre-chorus until Abel gives us that "How do I make you love me?" And everything that Abel does on this track complements the production as well, as the synth piano adds something more interesting onto the track. And of course, as we keep going into the last leg, breaks down, it's just a beat, nothing else, and it seamlessly transitions into the lead single, Take My Breath, which honestly, if I'm being honest right now, I completely lost my mind when I heard this transition. The transition immediately happens when we get that guitar playing. It immediately grabs my attention, as this sounds very good to transition, as it kind of reminds me of Michael Jackson's Beat It. And here's the thing, this is the extended version. Yes, Abel quite literally teases us in the beginning of this track, as of course it leads up to the beginning lines of "I Saw a Fire in Your Eyes," which is not the best start of lyrics to start out a song like this, but the rest of the song kicks off. And of course the chorus is like the song's greatest asset, if not the breakdown that would be after the second chorus. After the second chorus, it breaks down into this, backed up by this and filtered low pass synths added with some bass. Like, this shit had me going crazy. As it keeps going, it's building and building and building, as Abel's vocals are drenched in the synths and auto-tune. And then we have the next track, Sacrifice, which has the grooviest guitar riff I have ever heard on a Weeknd album. And I'm not gonna lie, this song is of course one of the main core elements of the Weeknd's music, and that's toxic ass relationships. And of course, specifically I'm talking about when he says, "I'll lie to you, but you know I sacrifice, and I don't want to waste my time because I love my time." Abel again is still going to like this toxic relationship dynamic topic choices on these songs. I can see the appeal given the fact that that's kind of how he started off in his career. And then he says, "I will pick you up and fuck you like we are friends, but don't try to catch feelings." My god, this is toxic. And this also shows the how far he has come since his mixtape days, especially vocally, as he kind of expresses that very well on here. And then the track takes a bit of a tone shift with the interlude, A Tale by Quincy, specifically by the late Quincy Jones. And he tells us about this heartbreaking story about how his mother was taken away from him when he was at a young age, leaving him with his brother and his father. And while over time he would have a stepmother, which would try to convince Quincy that he didn't need a mother, or the idea of it. And that would seamlessly transitions into the great Out of Time, which honestly, the horn samples just scream that this is going to be a ballad on a record that is very much sounding like the 80s. And the production sounds lush and lavish, The strings being plucked, it sounds very much like Daft Punk's Something About Us. I mean, the melody going along with Abel's voice almost perfect, and the lyrical content is pretty much Abel expressing that he's gone through some trauma due to him being so cold to the ones he loved, that loved him, and that he can't keep her from loving another man. It's kind of like a bittersweet song with some self-awareness. And then over time, the track slowly breaks down into, as Jim Carrey comes back and tells us a bit of commentary as we walk into the next track. Here we go again, and this time with Tyler the Creator. I wonder, would this be a good feature or not? Now, this is where Abel is talking about how he's doing all these things with this girl, celebrating the Super Bowl, striking poses with his kinfolk, and referencing his whole catalog as legendary. Now, of course, the girl he's hanging out with already has a boyfriend, as Abel says. You said you wanted your boyfriend jealous with a couple of pics, which could also be referencing his sexual prowess. There's a bit of a beat switch with Tyler the Creator comes with the verse, as he expresses how his relationship isn't perfect and that they don't need any form of authority telling them how they should love and how they should like to touch. And then by the end of this track, it still keeps in mind that, of course, this is still a radio station of sorts. Next, we get the anthemic, very bass heavy Best Friends. There are some weary synths for good measure. The chorus sounds nice as long as those synths play a vital role in the sound of the record. Abel on this song is technically friend zoning somebody because he doesn't want to be responsible for the heart that she may have felt for him. God damn. This album should be summarized in just this. God damn. And then we get a slowed sample loop as we get into the track Is There Someone Else. Now the ambience sets a slow tone as it's also very sensual. The synth again well along with the melody in the chorus, as there also is a bit of Chipmunk Soul on here. Get some inspiration from Kanye West, am I right? Then the next track, Starry Eyes, which I wasn't all that sold on initially, but it's still one of my least favorite tracks on the record. Oh, it has grown on me a bit. Abel kind of goes over how he's talking about this girl that was once in his dreams and now become a reality for him, and now he will be by her side for the rest of the way, or her life per se. And the production on here sounds very spacious, almost as if we were going through space across different galaxies. Every Angel is Terrifying plays as like this very theatrical with these gnarly and snary synths that sound dark along with the ambience. And there's actually some spoken words by Abel, and the sound of this track, as I mentioned a bit earlier, sounds like as if I'm watching a goddamn movie trailer. The rest of the track kind of goes into this, we want to sell you this product. And the phone number on this track, it has no like real like information on whether or not this phone number actually works. I kind of doubt it. I haven't tried it myself. And it segues into Break My Heart, as this one actually has some trap beat influence along with some clunky sounds of machinery, kind of like a bit more like industrial production. And Abel talks about how this girl is so mesmerizing that it leaves him paralyzed. Oh my goodness. I Heard You're Married is nice, however the Lil Wayne feature is where I kind of draw the line. Though I have grown on it since I first listened to it. It's the Lil Wayne feature. It's really the Dirty Harry line. Of course, I do like the guitar that's mixed in with like these high-pitched synths. And it kind of has the same idea that Starry Eyes had going. This time, Abel has caught the woman in her antics. And the sloppy delivery that Lil Wayne has makes it a bit of a bittersweet song for me to a degree. Less Than Zero is more peppy and upbeat despite the subject matter, and it's really about how she could no longer be with him after he released The Darkest Truth of All, as they couldn't meet in the middle to find some common ground. Specifically, this feeling that he has for her is something that he can't escape from. And the production sounds like I'm going through somewhere out of space, as the ambience is very spacious, along with some synths for good measure. And there are a few moments where the only instrument is the acoustic guitar, which I think makes the track a bit more interesting by the end, for sure. And then we have the closer, Phantom Regret by Jim. It's some freestyle poetry by Jim Carrey, as he pretty much brings us into the light, which is the real world. So yeah, very great record, very good record, very great. The synths, piano, string instruments, spacious, lush, and dark ambience alongside topics of toxic relationships made for a great album over here. While the Lil Wayne feature was a little disappointing, there was not much I have to say critically about this album, as The Weeknd still, even by that point, was still thriving off of nostalgic production. And given the fact that I haven't listened to Hurry Up By Tomorrow in full just yet, I can't wait to see how I feel about that project next. So, which is why for this album, I'm willing to give this a strong A on this one. So yes, I'll be doing more videos like this, so please stay tuned for another Weeknd album video that I'll be doing next. I will be doing Hurry Up Tomorrow, as that's his most recent project. So yeah, please stay tuned for that, and I'm gonna see y'all later.